Imagine you get an invitation to join an exclusive club. The entry fee is $1 billion. The club is chaired for life by one person who can kick you out whenever he feels like it. No one has actually seen the full rulebook, if there even is one. But the founder calls it the greatest and most prestigious board ever assembled. And look at its logo. Yes, it's quite similar to the logo of the UN. But do you really think it's a coincidence that North America is in the literal center of it all, while literally ignoring the rest of the world? Would you sign up for that club? Well, trust me, some leaders in Central Europe are currently tripping over each other to get inside as fast as they can. I'm Jan, this is ProgPulse, and today we're unpacking Trump's Board of Peace, or BOP for short. We'll look at why the heart of Europe is having a collective nervous breakdown over it currently, and whether this peace board is a diplomatic breakthrough or just the Munich agreement on steroids. Officially, the BOP was launched at Davos on January 22nd, 2026. It even has a shiny UN endorsement via Security Council Resolution number 2803. Its initial job? Overseeing the reconstruction of Gaza. On paper, at least, it's about stabilization forces and humanitarian aid. Standard stuff, pretty much. But in the few weeks since, the BOP has morphed into something much more ambitious and frankly much weirder.
First I had an escalator that stopped, you know that. It's going up, boom. It's lucky my movie star first lady was in front of me because I put my hand on a certain part of her body and I was able to stop my fall. Otherwise, because she had no trouble.
On February 19th, the board actually held its inaugural meeting at the, wait for it, newly renamed Donald J. Trump United States Institute of Peace in Washington. Yes, you heard me. In classic fashion, Donald Trump isn't actually just a founder of the club. He is the chairman for life. Here's the deal. Permanent membership in the Board of Peace costs $1 billion. If you can't swing that, not many people can, you get a 3-year renewable spot on the club, but it is renewable, of course, entirely at the chairman's discretion. But if you do manage to break the piggy bank and shell out the $1 billion, you are in basically forever because you've just paid for the renewal of your membership. It's essentially peace as a service. Forget the universal norms of the boring old world. This is a club where participation is based solely on how much you like Trump and how much he likes you back. And your checkbook, of course. Now, before we take a look at which of our neighbors in the region are currently checking their couch cushions for a spare $1 billion, I have a small challenge for you. See, my goal is to reach the first 1,000 subscribers on this channel before the end of June 2026, and we're already so close to that number. So if you're enjoying the deep dives and want to help an independent geopolitical channel to actually survive the YouTube algorithm, please hit that subscribe button. It's free, it takes you literally 1 second, and it genuinely helps me grow. Now, back to Trump's World Peace Project. Let's start with a country that didn't just join the club, but it actually helped pick out the color of the wallpaper. Hungary, of course. See, Viktor Orbán has now fully committed to the Board of Peace Project, which makes Hungary the only founding member from the V4 area and one of only 2 EU countries represented at the highest level. For Orbán, the BOP is the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. And maybe even literally. Orbán has now spent over a decade being nagged by Brussels about democracy and the rule of law and the other boring stuff that Brussels always nags you about. And by joining the BOP, he hopes that he can basically bypass those traditional structures, the rules-based order, and claim that he's playing in the major leagues along with Trump, whom he loves. But there's always a domestic card at play as well. The Hungarian election is looming large. It's going to happen on April 12, 2026. And Orbán is actually trailing in the polls, and it looks as if he might be likely to lose that election. So by getting a complete and total endorsement from Trump, which he did get at the meeting at January 19, he's hoping to look like a world-class statesman. And so in that context for Orbán, a $1 billion promise is just a small tiny price to pay for a photo op that says, I'm here with the boss and I matter a lot. Next, we move to Poland, where the Board of Peace has actually deepened a very real domestic political crisis that's been going on for months now. And by that, I of course mean the ongoing war between the centrist government of Prime Minister Donald Tusk on the one hand and the conservative PIS loyalist newly elected president Karol Nawrocki on the other hand. See, President Nawrocki was reportedly desperate to join the Board of Peace. To him at least, the BOP is actually a direct line to Trump and the US that bypasses the liberal elites in Berlin and Brussels and pretty much even in his own government, whom he despises, of course. He even dropped a bombshell by saying that he would gladly sit on the board of peace even alongside Vladimir Putin if it served Poland. Tusk, on the other hand, isn't having it. He formally declined membership of Poland in the Board of Peace and stated that Poland will never be a vassal of the US. And I mean, his fear is real with Donald Trump in power in the US. If the BOP expands from dealing with Gaza and peace in Palestine to Ukraine, for example, everything will be decided basically by an elite club of countries willing to literally pay $1 billion for the privilege to literally redraw someone else's borders without them actually being present in the room. So we're talking Munich 2.0, basically. Besides, for Tusk, of course, sharing as much as a coffee with Putin is an absolute non-starter. So as a result, Poland is currently playing a waiting game. They've only sent an observer to the BOP meeting in Washington, and meanwhile, the president and the PM in Warsaw are continuing with their fighting. And finally, we have the strategic hedging team, so to speak, Czechia and Slovakia. See, their positions are actually so similar that they might as well be sharing a Netflix account in the family. Both countries have declined full membership in the BOP, but both have shown up as observers, much like Poland. In Slovakia, Robert Fico, the prime minister, is performing a masterclass in political gymnastics. He recently visited Mar-a-Lago, as we also reported on Prague Pulse, to pitch Slovakia as the ideal location for Ukraine peace talks and also to beg for energy deals with Trump. Fico absolutely loves Trump's peace from the East rhetoric, but he also doesn't want to pay a penny from the $1 billion entry fee, of course. So it's basically the diplomatic equivalent of wanting the VIP experience so much without having to pay for the bottle service at all. And then when you do get in and do get the VIP treatment, then you tell your friends that the club was overrated anyway and it wasn't worth it at all. Czechia is actually doing the exact same thing. See, they're present enough not to be ignored by Washington and to be able to say to the domestic audience that, look, we respect Donald Trump enough, but they're also distant enough to avoid being blamed by Brussels when the whole Board of Peace initiative inevitably does something unconventional and or crashes entirely. It's a high-stakes balancing act born out of a desperate desire of the governments in the region to stay in Trump's good graces somehow without actually having to set the EU on fire. So what does this all mean? Well, the Board of Peace has confirmed a harsh reality. Central Europe no longer exists as a unified bloc, if it ever has. We have one country inside and 3 other countries watching through the window and recalculating every 5 minutes whether or not it's worth it for them to join or to ignore the project altogether. And I think that for the region at least, the real danger behind the BOP project is its quiet expansion of powers. The Hungarian foreign minister has already said as much. He said that he hopes that the BOP will start handling the Russian war against Ukraine. What exactly that means, how exactly the BOP should start handling, he didn't say, but that's actually exactly what the rest of the world should fear. See, if a so-called peace settlement on Ukraine is brokered within the Board of Peace, with Russia at the table, Ukraine and the rest of the EU very much not at the table, in an institution with no formal rules, with one almighty dictator, and in an institution that is literally paid to play, it would be an existential catastrophe for Ukraine, Poland, and even the rest of Europe. The pattern here is simple, actually. Several Central European governments have decided that proximity to Trump, or at least appearing to be in proximity, is worth more than institutional consistency. It's a rational short-term calculation, but for a region that has always deeply dependent on multilateral rules and the current system to keep big powers from eating them alive. We all depend on the current system, and this uncertainty that the BOP and Trump have created is a massive gamble for all of us. Is the Board of Peace a brilliant new diplomatic tool or just a high-end loyalty test that is pay to play? No one actually knows, but the problem is that in Central Europe, everyone is terrified of being left out of the room, and that's why all of this has been happening. We'll definitely be following not only the BOP, so be sure to subscribe and like this video so that you don't miss it in the future. I'm Jan, and this has been Prague Pulse. See you very soon.